The purpose of this project is to honor minorities who have contributed to social welfare across the world throughout history. We believe that minority contributions have been overlooked within the social work profession. This presentation will provide the audience with examples of radical individuals who positively impacted humanity.
Arizona State University defines social work as a profession dedicated to enhancing human capacity to solve social problems in order to create a more humane and just society. The profession focuses on strengths and is characterized by a steadfast commitment to social justice in the service of empowering individuals, families, and communities to meet their needs.
There are radical and conventional social workers. Radical social workers take drastic measures to fight oppression and injustices to transform the foundation material into immediate social action. Conventional social workers simply conform to traditional practices and standards.
We do not intend to undermine the historical contributions of the white privileged class. People like Elizabeth Fry and Jane Addams made significant influences to the social work profession. It's important to consider achievements of minorities to the field of social work. The individuals and organizations in the following slides exemplify what it means to be radical agents of change.
Jesus was referred to as the King of Kings, yet he did not live a life of luxury. He lived and worked amongst the poor, the thieves, and the disabled. Jesus teaches us to be compassionate and to help those who society writes off as undeserving.
The Peasants' Revolt of 1381 was caused by King Richard II's attempts to enforce the third medieval poll tax. This tax was particularly unfair to women as it taxed women separately from their husbands without regard to the woman's income or employment status. Women were leaders and part of the mob during this revolt.
Harriet Tubman escaped slavery and then made more than 13 missions to help more than 70 slaves escape by using the Underground Railroad. She worked for the Union Army during the American Civil War and was the first woman to lead an armed expedition in the war.
W.E.B. Du Bois was the first African American to earn a doctoral degree. He taught at Atlanta University and was a co-founder of the NAACP. Du Bois spent his time protesting against Jim Crow laws and discrimination in education and employment. As a result of his lobbying, the United States Civil Rights Act was enacted a year after his death.
Gandhi used nonviolent civil disobedience to lead India in independence from the British and was imprisoned many times for his activities. He promoted village self-sufficiency in India and late in life promoted peace between the various religious groups in the border area between India and Pakistan.
Helen Keller became deaf and blind after an illness when she was a baby. Keller was the first deaf and blind person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. She was a member of the Socialist Party and traveled and spoke extensively in support of the anti-war movement, as well as women's suffrage and labor rights.
Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel escaped from Poland just before the German invasion in 1939. He became one of the leading Jewish philosophers and represented the American Jews at the Vatican Council II, where he lobbied the Roman Catholic Church to remove parts of the liturgy that demeaned Jews. He was also an activist for the black civil rights.
Mother Teresa left the comfort of her convent to help the poor and sick of India. She was awarded the 1979 Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts. She started what would eventually become the Missionaries of Charity, which now has over 4,500 sisters caring for those with HIV and AIDS, refugees, sick and abandoned children, lepers, among others.
Although he was committed to peaceful protests, Nelson Mandela led a bombing campaign against the government targets with the goal to end apartheid in South Africa. He served 27 years in prison for his actions and became president during South Africa's first multiracial elections. While president, he instituted social reforms to reduce social and economic inequalities.
Cesar Chavez was a civil rights activist who was active in the labor movement. He began as an organizer for the Community Service Organization and then co-founded the National Farm Workers Association, which became the United Farm Workers. He organized effective produce strikes to protest the low wages of farm workers.
Shirin Ebadi was the first Iranian to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. She has spent her life focusing on human rights issues which involve women, children, and refugees. Ebadi became the first female judge in Iran. She now teaches law at the university and advocates on behalf of strengthening the legal statuses of women and children.
The original goal of the Black Panther Party was to eliminate police brutality on African Americans. The party eventually went on to design programs to alleviate hunger, poverty, and improve health in Black communities. They are well known for their Free Breakfast for Children program.
The mural arts program began in 1984 as part of the Philadelphia Anti-Graffiti Network. The Anti-Graffiti Network hired muralist Jane Golden to reach out to the graffiti writers and redirect their energies from destructive graffiti writing to constructive mural painting. Mural arts program offers free art educational programs to at-risk youth and inmates in Philadelphia.
Beijing University students organized to protest in Tiananmen Square in the spring of 1989 against inflation and corruption in the government and calling for freedom of press and speech, as well as in the accountability of the government. This protest led to the Tiananmen Square massacre when troops enforced martial law in the city.
The Occupy movement started in New York City in 2011 and quickly spawned more protests worldwide. The mostly nonviolent protests have sparked conversations about economic issues faced by ordinary Americans, including homelessness and unemployment.
The people and organizations in this presentation have proven to be radical and have strived to make our society a more just and humane place to live. Now, where does that leave you, class of 2014? Macro or clinical, it doesn't matter. What will you do to influence our society? Will you choose to be radical?